to work for themselves rather than work for other people. And that's a very good initiative. But it's also important for this country and for us as a nation to create an environment in Zambia where doing business should be easier. So the cost of doing business should come down. That way, even the large companies begin to expand and employ more people. And if they can employ more people, it means those who cannot go into entrepreneurial investment for themselves, at least they know there's jobs available in Zambia, whether it's on the mines, tourism, manufacturing, agriculture, they can find jobs. So we really need to be targeting the lowering of cost of doing the cost of doing business in Zambia. And to me, these are areas of such as the high cost of fuel, the high cost of electricity, the high cost of licensing and the user fees for registration of companies and for obtaining licenses to run certain businesses, the high cost of money, obviously, borrowing money from the banks at 25, 35%, very few people can afford that. So this high cost of doing business is the one which is actually limiting the number of jobs that can be created in Zambia. And I think that's where government has to focus on beyond supporting the small and medium enterprises.
But then how does government begin to fundamentally, work on reducing the cost of doing business? What are some of the fundamentals you would suggest that government should begin to work on?
Okay, well, one of them is really just staring us in the face. We see it every day. When the previous Minister of Finance was saying that government is going to charge cost recovery fees, user fees, to me that was a ridiculous pronouncement, because you are talking of the Ministry of Health charging fees to through its statutory bodies to the general public. You are looking at the Ministry of Mines, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Commerce, the various ministries that are involved with economic activity, charging for licenses, for fees, for inspection. And my question is, we pay the government through the national budget. So why should an officer who is working for government, getting a salary from government, which you and me, the taxpayer, are paying for through the national budget, why should that person then say, I'm going to charge you cost recovery fees for the service I provide you? It means they're getting paid twice. Once they're getting it from our taxes, and the second time they're getting it from these so-called cost recovery fees. So I think government was extortionist with that particular agenda, and I expect this new government of the day to completely reduce all these licensing fees and permit fees to what I would call token fees, like how we get a reg card for 5 kwacha or 6 kwacha. It should be a token fee, because the Department of National Registration, which is part of the Ministry of Home Affairs, is being funded by you and me as a taxpayer through the national budget. They can't be asking to make money on us who are funding them through the budget. So that must be done away with in the 2022 budget. The second thing is that I think that we made a mistake with the experiment of thinking that we can make electricity a private sector driven utility. All the countries that tried it in the West have gone into economic recession because they took away the fundamental of productivity, human productivity, which is electricity. They took it out of government hands and put it into private sector. So when you look at the economies of Germany, UK, France, Italy, these have all gone into recession because they privatized the electricity subsector. And we are following suit. We are also saying we want cost recovery tariffs and the crazy ideas that we have adopted from the West, which are failing economies. And we don't look to the people who have shown success, countries like China, who have had 10% GDP growth over a period of 20 years. What did they do that has made them so successful? One of the things they did was to make sure that subsector must be state-run and state-controlled. In the same way, we are seeing in Zambia, the state is the largest importer in the health sector. The state is the largest investor in the health sector. The state is the largest investor in the education sector. The state controls the price of drinking water in our taps. You know that there are only 2 utilities in Zambia which are regulated at tariff level by a government institution through a statutory body. And the one is drinking water, which is regulated by NAWASCO, and the second one is electricity and fuel, which is regulated by ERB. Yeah. There's a reason why we did that, because we didn't want to privatize this to the extent that the country becomes held to ransom by foreign investors. So I think we made a big mistake, and it's time we corrected it. Right now, we have a foreign investor at Iteshi power station producing 120 megawatts of power. We have another foreign investor at Mamba coal power station, which is producing between 150 and 300 megawatts. And we are subsidizing them because we are buying electricity from them at 11 or 12 cents per kilowatt hour, and we're selling it to Zambians at 7 cents or thereabouts per kilowatt hour. So 7 cents to 11 cents is 4 or 5 cents that we are paying the foreign investor to give us power. Why are we subsidizing a foreign entity? That should have been owned by ZESCO, and ZESCO should have been running it. We can subsidize our own national producer. We shouldn't be subsidizing a foreign investor. So I think we made a big mistake. And that's why the economy of China is flourishing, because the cost of energy in China is low. Yes, it can be subsidized, but it has enabled them to become the largest producer in the world because of smart planning. We need to think about that as well.
Now, Mr. Dodia, in fixing our economy, we're running actually to the IMF for an IMF bailout package. How important is this, especially that even the budget is being presented this Friday?
Well, it's ironic to me. It sounds to me, if I give you an example, it's like a person who has got 10 hectares of maize, is growing maize, very good maize, and he sells his maize to the milling companies, and he's starving, he has got no meal. He goes to ShopRite to queue to get 1 kg of meal. And people are confused, but why are you starving? You don't have meal. When you grow 10 hectares of it, what do you do with it? No, we sell it. What do you eat? No, we don't eat. We have to buy from ShopRite. So that's the kind of ridiculous situation we are in. Now let me apply it to Zambia. Zambia exports between 40 and 17 million US dollars per day of copper. Every day, between 40 and 70 million dollars leaves this country on a daily basis. Now, if we are talking of $70 million per day, 10 days is 700 million.
To watch longer interviews such as this, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Diamond TV Zambia.